I'm Tom Seals of God's Word for Warriors. Thank you for tuning in to our second podcast. And today we're going to be speaking on the subject of war's invisible wounds, suicide and suicide ideation. You know, Robert Penske's translation of the Inferno of Dante reads like this: midway on our life's journey, I found myself in dark woods. The night red was lost, or the right road was lost. To tell about these woods is hard, so tangled and rough. And savage that thinking of it now, I feel old fear stirring. Death is hardly more bitter. And yet, to treat the good, I found there as well. I'll tell you what I saw. You know, just a couple of weeks ago, God's Word for Warriors executive assistant to the president, Laurel Bowman, who is a 25-year hospice registered nurse, she was called out one morning to the side of a family who had early that morning tragically lost a husband, a father, a grandfather, and a United States Army lieutenant colonel. He took his life that morning. Sadly, this is a sad experience of so many families across our nation, as 22 veterans a day choose suicide over the pain and the challenges that they face while serving our nation or while acclimating into society following their military service. And at a wake a couple of days later, while engaging in conversation with the commander of the Combat Veterans Motorcycle Association, we discussed the importance of addressing this common tragedy before us, before the pain and suffering associated with this moment in time. How many scenes such as this could be avoided if we just sought opportunities to engage with our fellow veterans and equip them with hope and solutions to the challenges they face? What if we sought opportunities to assist men and women in facing adversity with confidence and strength? You know, exposure to combat trauma is one of the most common predictions of depression in one's life. No doubt, this is the foundational cause of the statistics that post-deployed veterans account for 14% of the total number of individuals who are experiencing depression, and the resulting alarming rate of suicide among veterans. The Tennessean, a Nashville newspaper, reported on April the 3rd, 2019, that the Pentagon stated that 265 active duty service members killed themselves in that year. And this was a continuing trend. Unusually high suicide rates among United States military men and women was increasing every day. In a class at Lipscomb University that I taught, it was entitled Faith and Culture, God's Word for Warriors, a veteran in that class reported in a paper that he was required to write, I was always the one to help others out of their struggles, but I had no help in my struggle with depression and thoughts of suicide. The very people who should have known me best didn't, and they suffered because of my lack of control I was depressed, and I didn't realize the actions I was taking, nor did I really care. I was numb, and my family and friends didn't see it. That's an important statement, and that tells us a lot about the individual. What this reveals is the importance of family and friends and loved ones in becoming involved in the lives of our veterans as they come home from deployments, to be aware of their moods, their upswings, and especially so when these veterans start to withdraw and become isolated. Many veterans turn to close friends and family to share what they are experiencing. And what better source of help is there than that offered by someone who has been there? That's why group sessions with veterans, these sessions are very important in offering support and understanding. In fact, studies reveal that one of the most important discoveries in the history of suicide prevention is intervention made by non-professionals, by peer counseling, which means you and me as friends, as relatives of our veterans. Whenever we are involved with those around us who may be facing troubling situations, we must be trained to recognize and evaluate some of the clues which a potential suicide person offers. And these range from verbal clues to behavioral clues to situational clues. In relation to such awareness, Gary Collins, a psychologist, has written a classic and very valuable book that opens to us the value of such alertness. And he wrote in his book, How to Become a People Helper, that the onset of major depression may not be obvious, but he assures us that there are synonymous and symptoms that can be recognized. Let me read a few of these to you. Persistently sad or irritable moods. Pronounced changes in sleep and eating habits, and even energy. Difficulty in thinking and concentrating and remembering. Feeling tired and without energy almost every day. An increase in the use of alcohol, caffeine, or drugs. Lack of interest in or pleasure from activities that they previously enjoyed. Feelings of guilt, worthlessness, hopelessness, and emptiness. Recurrent thoughts of death or suicide, and persistent physical symptoms that do not respond to treatment. You know, one of the problems encountered in suicide prevention is that only 53% of service members seek health and help from providers. And of those who sought care, roughly half receive minimally adequate treatment. And if such individuals and loved ones go untreated or untreated, then there's a cascading set of consequences, such as drug use, marital problems, unemployment, things that only increase depression. In 2009, the United States Armed Forces posted suicide rates that beginning that year, outnumber combat-related deaths. For the first time in the history of our nation, suicide rates and death from suicide exceeded deaths on the battlefield. The sad fact is only about half of our veterans report depression and hopelessness. And these are key warning signs which often lead to suicide. Why is this? Many are worried about the side effects of medication or believe that family or friends can provide more help than a mental health professional. Even more reported that seeking care might harm their military career or cause their peers to lose confidence in their abilities. In spite of the fact that the Department of Defense assures our veterans that reporting anxiety and reporting suicide ideation will not affect your career, most of them do not believe that. Terry Tanulon, a researcher at RAND, a nonprofit research organization, reported with these words: "We need to remove the institutional barriers that discourage soldiers from seeking care. Just because someone is getting mental health care does not mean that they're not able to do their job. Seeking mental health treatment should be seen as a sign of strength and interest in getting better, not a weakness." And I wish to add something that this is my own personal opinion, my own judgment. I believe that the lack of a spiritual element in the recovery process is a grave lack of care. In my book, God's Word for Warriors, Returning Home Following Deployment, I write these words: "In seeking to assist our veterans in reconnecting with their culture, we began with the principle that the first reconnection must contain a spiritual or a faith component. We must establish a growing and deepening relationship with God, with family, with fellow believers. The end goal," I write, "will be to bring a wholesomeness of life to each veteran, spiritually, socially, and physically. And this is a life that Jesus Christ desires for all. He said, in fact, in John 10:10, 'I come that you might have life and have it abundantly.'" I close these thoughts with you today with the following poignant statement from a veteran whom I have developed a deep relationship and appreciation for, and who was one in the veterans only class that I taught at Lipscomb University. And his statement concerns past feelings concerning suicide, because he sought suicide as a way to free someone from pain and suffering. Listen to his words. They're powerful. "I don't want to die," he writes. "I don't want to kill myself. I'm not selfish, nor was I trying to be selfish. I was just dying inside. I could see the ripples at the top of the water, but I couldn't swim up. Something was pulling me down. I was drowning. Not killing myself did not take away how serious I was, or how serious I still get at times. I don't want to lose this battle. I would have rather died downrange rather than come back and die at my own hand." I tried to reach out and talk about this to a couple of people, and they couldn't handle it. And I understand. This is a scary time, and I was honestly scared. And now I am just worried. I need to figure out the triggers. I need to stop these thoughts when they start. I need to stop them before the fog settles in. I need, he writes, someone to hear me and feel what I am trying to get out. I'm not good at explaining my feelings. I'm awkward, antisocial with people I don't know, and alone. I don't want to talk about this. It is me trying to process my feelings. So please remember, if this ever happens to me, I wasn't trying to be selfish. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could reach out to those people? Reach out to them before they take action, before they act on their suicide ideation. Be alert to these needs among our veterans. Let us help you at God's Word for Warriors. That's the reason we're here. And we want to reach out so bad to help these people. That's the greatest mission that I could ever have in my life. Thank you very much for tuning in today. And I hope that one day that our paths might cross. If you ever want to reach out to us and talk to us, we welcome any conversation with you. Have a great day.